The head of the AFL-CIO went on Fox News and he casually obliterated Donald Trump without even trying. I mean, this is just effortless. So let's watch and then we'll discuss.
Let me step back for a minute and go broader view. How does big labor feel about President Trump at this point? I mean, the fact is growth is up, unemployment is down. He's using tariffs to try to break down trade barriers that I know that you hate. So, I mean, what mark do you give Donald Trump on this Labor Day weekend?
You know, when he was elected, I said I would call balls and strikes. When he did something that was good for workers, we'd support him. When he did something that was bad for workers, we would oppose him. Unfortunately, to date, the things that he's done to hurt workers outpace what he's done to help workers. He hasn't come up with an infrastructure program that could put a lot of us back to work. He overturned a regulation that would actually denied over 5 million people overtime that they would have had. He overturned some health and safety regulations that will hurt us on the job. Enforcement of OSHA and MSHA isn't what it should be. So we keep trying to find areas where we can work with him and where we can.
Mr. Trumka, let me ask you, I mean, 3.9% unemployment, 3.5 million jobs created, 4%, 4.2% GDP in the last quarter. I mean, don't you give them something for that?
No, those are good. But wages have been down since the first of the year. Gas prices have been up since the first of the year. So overall, workers aren't doing as well. He passed a tax bill that encourages companies to outsource. We can't agree to support something like that. He's every place we can, Chris, we do. But unfortunately, right now, the scale is weighted against him because he's done more to hurt workers than to help workers.
So you have launched a new big political campaign for the midterms. You have an ad out on the web right now. Is it your hope that Democrats would take back control of the House and Senate and block the Trump agenda, even those parts that have been good for workers, like creating 3.5 million new jobs?
It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about electing people that will support working people in this country. That's what we're looking to do. We started a couple of months ago going door to door, member to member with our members, saying what issues are important to you. We put those together. We're going to put them in front of candidates. Those candidates that support the issues that our members say they want, need, and should have are the candidates that we'll support. It probably will be Democrats because, unfortunately, Democrats support working people more than Republicans have. We'd like to change that, but the reality is Democrats support working people more than Republicans, although we go candidate by candidate, and we support those Republicans that support working people.
I love that segment because there wasn't a smidgen of bullshitting in Richard Trumka. I mean, that was all totally honest. His answers were very thorough in terms of where he has his disagreements with Donald Trump. You know he's coming from a good place, too, because, for example, the union supported Trump when he did the tariffs on, I think it was foreign steel, because they said, oh, this is going to spur production and manufacturing in the U.S. So there's going to be more jobs in the U.S. In those industries that we're responsible for. So they gave him credit for that. So when Trump pulled out of TPP, which, by the way, was a little misleading because now he's slipping the provisions of TPP into the NAFTA renegotiation. So it's not like he's, totally against it and really against the hurting working people. But when he pulled out of TPP, Trumka gave him credit. So you could tell that he's sincere. And when he said what he said at the end there, all I care about is helping working people. If you ask me overall, who will we end up supporting more in upcoming elections? It will probably be Democrats. But we will support Republicans if they support working people. But it just so happens to be the case that most of them don't support working people. I love that answer. Because what he's doing, he's not saying anything like stubborn and thick-headed and definitive of like, no matter what, I won't support Republicans. Because then you don't come across as being open-minded. Because what if you have the rare random Republican who's going to help working people? But his answer was perfect. It was like, yeah, no, I mean, I'm open to it, but you have to show me that you're for the policies I'm for. So that was so reasonable And Trump was watching it because he watches Fox News all day, and he couldn't help himself. And he made himself look like an asshole responding to Richard Trumka. Anybody who watched that Richard Trumka segment is walking away going, it seems like a reasonable dude. Here was Trump's response. Richard Trumka, the head of the AFL-CIO, represented his union poorly on television this weekend. Some of the things he said were so against the working men and women of our country, and the success of the U.S. itself, that it is easy to see why unions are doing so poorly. Adem! Pipe down, fuckface. You got owned. You got owned. He was very specific in how he disagreed with you. He's like, listen, he got rid of the overtime rule, which would have helped a lot of workers. We're against that. He didn't mention this, but his tax bill, for example, 83% of the benefits go to the top 1%. Did you know that in Trump's tax bill, it raises taxes on everybody making $75,000 a year or less over a 10-year period? So that means, effectively, he's raising taxes on middle class and poor people, working people. So don't tell me like, oh, I'm for the working. No, you're not. That's all bullshit. I care about the policies, not the talk. And outsourcing. Trump didn't bring this point up, but I happen to know the specific number because I've seen the study on this. 93,000 jobs were outsourced in Trump's first year as president. Now, that's pretty shitty for a guy who ran. One of the things he ran on was we're going to stop outsourcing. Well, 93,000 jobs were outsourced. When Chris Wallace brought up, well, what about, unemployment's low? Trump had the exact right response. Yeah, but wages are down. If you're creating jobs, but those jobs pay shitty wages, don't expect people to be all like, oh, the administration is great. I'm a working poor person. No, if we're going to hire people and they're going to work, they should be able to live off the wage. No shit. So I love that Trumka was spot on. He was very specific in the policies, and hey, here's where I disagree with Trump. And that's how you know Trump is such a fucking bullshitter, man. Because Trumka was so specific, and Trump could not refute any of what he actually said. So what does he say? Some vague bullshit. Oh, he represents the unions poorly. What does that mean? What does that mean, Don? What does that? It doesn't mean anything. You're writing words, but that doesn't mean anything. You represent the unions poorly because you said stuff that was accurate and against me, kind of. Some of the things he said were so against the working men and women of our country. Really? Where was it against the working men and women of our country? When he said he was for them getting overtime pay, is that against the working men and women of the country? When he said he's against outsourcing, is that, against the working men and women of our country? You just say shit, and it doesn't have to make sense, Don. You just say shit. It's so easy to see why unions are doing so poorly. No, unions are doing poorly because assholes like you and the Republican Party, they've been obliterating them from day one. You guys have always been against unions. Your policies have obliterated unions. Union membership is at a historic low because of, for example, Republicans pushing right-to-work laws. So, don't give me this nonsense. This utter garbage, total bullshit. Oh, why are unions doing so poorly? Because of politicians like you who fuck with working people and always are in favor of policies that hurt the middle class. So good job, Richard Trumka. If you just stick to the facts, stick to the issues, which it sounds like you do, you walk away looking like Iron Man, and he walks away looking like the petty loser that he is.